Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to be moving into some special selections this weekend, and our first one is pretty interesting. We have a request to represent a home country. So, Yoan Silviu says, I'll pick a track that reps my country, Romania, since it hasn't been done before on your channel, to their knowledge. Torn between Pondural by Dordida and Codru by Iana. And I flipped a coin on this one, and I went with Iana. So that's what we're going to be checking out today. And I'm pretty psyched about this. We got some folk black metal. Folk metal? Which one did I pick? Folk metal, just straight folk metal. And I tend to like the folkier stuff. And of course, this is coming from Romania. And like Yoan said, I don't think we've done anything from that country yet. So it's going to be pretty cool to see where this takes us. So yeah, let's get into it. The way the guitar and that flute are the timbres are mixing together and they harmonize on that line. Yeah. Got some offbeat accents right there. Gets it going a bit kind of dancey. Very upbeat. Got a lot of momentum. The game vocals make it feel like it's a nice group, a tight-knit group singing together. Got a little bit of that metal shining through. Yeah, this is just such a cool combination. All this offbeat emphasis is just so... it's fun. This is a fun song. Nice little break on that harmony. See, this time they both play the same, but the flute's gonna go up. Yeah. Every second repetition they diverge a little bit, and that's really cool. interesting that they still add a little bit of electronic digital distortion, I guess I should say, the digital effects on top. So we have the folkiness of previous eras, we have the electronic instruments from the era after, and then we have modern digital elements. I'm waiting for a hard groove to come in. Oh, man. Let's see where this goes, though. I mean. We got two harsh vocals now. And the group's back. So good. Many different time fields. The song is probably in one tempo, but the frequency that can move stuff like halftime and back to regular speed feel is just, I love it. Oh, and they got that instrument in there. I could be wrong. I think it's the didgeridoo. It's that instrument, that springy sound. But yeah, I think that's the didgeridoo. So yeah, phenomenal stuff. How has this escaped the channel thus far? Yeah, I love a lot of what's going on here. It's such a fantastic merger of folk and metal. It's probably because it's the only other prominent band in the folk metal genre that really sticks out to me, but it reminds me of Illuvite. Um, and I think that's just because it's folk metal. I don't think they're from the same country. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're not. But off the top of my head, I can't remember where Illuvite's from. But yeah, I mean, it's modern metal with harsh vocals and you know, classic instruments, folk instruments. So I mean uh, compare com- man, why can't I think of that word? Me comparing them is it's just it was inevitable. That's definitely what I think of when I hear this style of combinations of genres. Um, but I really want to dig into a lot of the cool things they do here. So one thing that I really think about with folk music is that it was really relegated to events. When I think back to the Middle Ages, and I think about what music was utilized for those times, a lot of it was for parties, shows. Um, if cultures had some sort of plays, I know the Chinese did a lot of plays during the time. They had some of them would have music accompanying them. And so to me, medieval folksy style of music always kind of evokes groups of people. Um, and I love how that is brought out in this song. First of all, there's just a plethora of voices. There's so many instruments being played. Um, I'm not sure how many are being played at the same time. I don't know how many members are. Well, I'm going to say there's 7 members in the band, given this cover photo right here. Um, it sounds like there's more than 7 instruments playing at some of these times. It's just such a wide, full sound. It reminds me of being at a celebration of sorts. Maybe it's the first rainfall in several months, so let's start a bonfire and jam out and just be happy about it, kind of idea. Not to mention that the song starts out with one of the coolest vocal introductions I think I've had to a group, and that is this group vocal, not really aiming for any specific note. It reminds me of that Crippled Black Phoenix that we checked out recently, where they just had the room full of people just singing around a note, not really aiming for any specific one, and you get this nice big chanty vibe to it. Um, Chanty, not shanty, like chanting. And we get this feeling here at the beginning. I think it was only 3 or 4 voices, but maybe it was some of the way it was mixed and produced. It sounded super wide, and there was a third voice that I almost didn't. I second guessed myself on hearing, because it's a bit lower in the mix, lower in the volume. It's just kind of hard to really key into. But there were some notes where it just shone through, and I'm pretty sure there were at least 3 voices there, maybe more. Maybe there were just more in the mix that I missed. But it feels like a community, a village, a small town gathering together, and playing music together to celebrate something, just everybody coming together. Part of that is the group vocals that I just mentioned, but also there's just this strong, upbeat, driving momentum to most of the song. There's a lot of emphasis on the offbeat and really pushing this bouncy dancing vibe through a lot of what's going on, which is pretty cool because it works well in folk music. But metal is not usually the fun dancing kind of music. So it's really cool to see that work so well, even though we have the harshness and timbres of the distorted guitars, the harsh vocals, all the metal aspects. It still works really well with that emphasized offbeat, that bounciness that really gives it this dancey vibe, and that is just phenomenal. I love that they can mix those two, and it comes together so well. Um, yeah, that's just phenomenal. The other thing I really enjoy is how often the folk aspect, the folk voices are worked into the metal music. And without listening to it a second time, it's got to be like 90%. I don't think there was a moment. There might have been one drum fill that was a very metal drum fill with nothing else. And I think that might have been the only time that there wasn't a folk element in the music. And it's just awesome to hear so much of the folk style of writing and playing and the folk sound being mixed into the metal track. Um, I don't want to make a lot of comparisons, but I am going to bring this up one more time. Illuvite, we checked out. I don't know if we checked it out on a channel or if I was showing it through Discord, but Rebirth is probably the song that I think of most when I think of Illuvite. And they did have a lot of the folksy instruments, but the song was definitely a metal song first. The pan flutes were utilized. I'm trying to remember actually. I think it was mostly throughout, but otherwise the folksy elements, which would be, I know they used like a skin based drum head instrument, some sort of percussive instrument that was very folksy, and they used an acoustic lute of some sort, but it was, I remember it being so short. It was a small part of it. Most of the song was the electric guitars with like the flute. I think the flute was really like the main aspect there. And so I really like the way that folk and metal tend to get smashed together in the folk metal genre. And I think this is really what I would expect from future adventures into the genre, because the folk aspect is so prominent in the sound. It is constantly being utilized. It is not something to add for flourish. It is not something to add for specific sections so we can have a folky section in the metal. It is just, a handful of the performers, they play the folk instruments. They're not just going to sit around and do nothing for, bars, for verses, for choruses. They're members of the band. They're going to play, and they play their folky instruments, their acoustic instruments throughout the entire track. And I just love that. Um, the other thing, I mentioned it a few times. I'm going to mention it again. That timbre harmony, when I'm pretty sure it's a flute of some sort, um, when it plays with the guitar, whatever that guitar tone is, it has crunch, but it's a very bright guitar tone. It's distorted but clean. It is not a muddy, heavy, crackly, crunchy sound. It's distorted for sure, but it still has a bright openness to it. Um, and just the way that it sounds with the flute is just gorgeous. And I'm so glad that they harmonized those lines as often as they did. It seemed to be a recurring theme that if the guitar had a melody line, the flute was going to play with it. And there was a couple of times when the flute actually diverged, went in a different direction. It stuck with the same rhythmic line, but if the guitar was going to go down in notes, the flute went up in notes, and it created this nice divide before it smushed back together and started playing the same notes again. Yeah, just phenomenal. I don't know if that was a conscious decision. Maybe somebody heard the two together and they're like, yeah, that's the sound we need, and we're going to revisit it several times. Or if it was more of an accidental thing, maybe they just wanted to harmonize, and the flute was open, didn't have anything written for it, so they just gave it to the guitar line. I don't know, but phenomenal, great stuff. Um, yeah, we need more of this. We could probably use some more Romanian music. Like I said, I think this is the first track, first band we've listened to from Romania. So yeah, we definitely should explore more countries. We've done Japanese music, 2 weeks of that, I think, at least, maybe 1 week, and then just a handful before that week, before we were doing themes that just happened to get picked. I don't remember. Um, but I've had this concept of doing country based stuff. We tried to get Arabian metal on channel last month. I think April was Arab American Appreciation Month or something like that. So I threw that in the polls, and there was some feedback that, I mean, that would be pretty cool to explore, but that a lot of people just didn't have recommendations. Um, so that if it went through, it would be kind of difficult to fill up a band poll to see what would actually end up being on the week. So I got to find a way to go about doing that because country-based music theming a whole week after a country is something that I would like to explore for sure, but it's a lot more difficult to get through the Patreon polls just because it is not as I think it would well, containing music to a single country. Not everybody listens to music from specific countries, so it's just a lot harder to do that. So I might have to start doing that. Find a way to do like a bonus week or maybe an extra video every week that could tie in. That way we get 4 videos for a country every month. I don't know. I got to look into ways to do it because I do want to explore and kind of see how metal evolved through, especially earlier times when, like the 80s and 90s before the internet. Because nowadays, I would say that there's a lot of cross pollination with compositional ideas just because it really doesn't matter where you live, where you're making music at. Social media and the internet, YouTube, streaming services, they've really made it easy to learn about a genre in any country. So I think it's easier for ideas to get cross pollinated now. I would like to see maybe explore some music in from other countries, maybe from the 90s, 80s, 2000s, and kind of see some of that stuff. That'd be cool. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling now, so we're going to wrap this up. Those are my thoughts on Codru by Iana. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up with your thoughts if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, anything that stuck out to you that maybe I didn't talk about, you can post some comments there. I'm open to listen. There's definitely a lot going on in this track, and I did not get to touch on everything just because I only got one chance to listen to it. So above the comment section, we got a description box. We got links in there. We got Discord. We got Twitter. We got spreadsheets. We got Patreon. You want to check out something adjacent to the channel that's still related to it, that's your place. Below that, like, subscribe, ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, with another critical reaction, specially selected by one of you from the community. Until that time, though, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos. See ya!